DJ, is you've got to try and build people up, and you've got to try and get the atmosphere building through a track. If you try and think about the atmosphere that Chris and I agree that we're trying to create, we want it to be rocking in there, and a little bit mad, a little bit like Sunderland fans take pride in the fact this place is going to be a bit noisier, a bit more in your face.
Well, I'm glad he doesn't work here anymore. Hello everyone, welcome back to fairlydeterminedfm with me. My name is Chris. I hope you're all doing well. Now, if that little sort of intro video skit thing didn't give you the hint, we are now the manager, or I am now the manager, of the Royal We are now the manager of Sunderland. If you haven't seen the end of the Brighton video, the last Brighton video, so the board haul me into a meeting in which they decide that I need to be escorted from the premises. I don't make a scene. I go quietly. I know where I'm not wanted. It's fine. It's fine. I did get sacked. Unfairly, I might add, but I did get sacked. I'd never managed Sunderland before, but I have watched that documentary that clip was just from, Sunderland Till I Die, and I really liked it. And that was enough for me to go, you know what, yeah, Sunderland might be the club that I want to manage. So I went on the interview, answered their questions, and I got the job. Hurrah! So why Sunderland then? Apart from the documentary, why Sunderland? I think they've got a really good squad for this level, for the championship at this moment in time. They've got a lot of young players, they've got a lot of players with a lot of potential, and they've got some sort of standout players as well. Let's have a little look at some of those. The first one, he's got a pretty famous big brother. Joe Bellingham, 19 years old, the younger brother of the bicycle kick hero, Jude Bellingham. He's got a really low release clause in his current contract, and I'm not happy that some clubs are sniffing around him. So I make him one of the highest paid players at the club. Well, the highest paid player at the club, giving him a 40 grand a week deal with a £30 million release clause. I'm pretty sure he's going to be worth it. Then the next superstar player we've got is Daniel Ballard. He's a central defender, 6'2", great work rate, really good jumping reach. So we're going to be getting him on the top, on the end of headers, hopefully. He's sort of my favourite profile of central defender. I think he can do all the physical stuff, and he's probably tough as nails, which I really like. And then we've got Pembele, a French right back who can get up and down the wings. His work rate is only 13, but I think with his pace and acceleration, he will be able to get up and down that right flank for us. He, again, wanted by a couple of clubs, no intention of selling him. He is going to be sort of our first choice right back, I think. Pretty much the only first choice right back we've got, actually, which we need to resolve. So the squad does look good, as I say, but we do have to kind of do something about the mentality of the squad, because it's not great. Our work rate is the lowest in the league, determination is low, teamwork is low. This is a squad that is going to crumble if things don't go their way, which is perfect, because I'm exactly the sort of manager who thrives in those sorts of situations. So tactically, I've decided to go for a bit of a 4-3-3. Now, regular viewers of the channel will know that I love a 4-3-3, but I didn't do this at Brighton because I wanted to make use of sort of our attacking midfield threats. However, we've got the players to be able to play my preferred 4-3-3. It's pretty light on instructions, the squad is quite pacey, and they can dribble, so I know that we can play with a bit of a higher tempo, and we can tell them to run at the opposition, which is good. Counter-pressing, the squad doesn't really have the work rate to pull this off, I don't think, but counter-press almost seems like a mandatory instructions a lot of the time, so it's going on there. I'm not having them counter. I don't want them to just bundle? I don't want them to burst up the pitch straight away. I want to try and keep possession a little bit, which kind of goes against runner defence and slightly higher tempo, I think. I don't really know what I'm doing. You should know this by now. Transfer-wise, we make a couple of signings. So the first is Michael Golding. He's a youngster from Chelsea. He's one for the future. I think he could be pretty good, but he is sent straight out on loan to Newport because I'm not going to be playing him at this current level of ability that he's got. You know what one for the future means. Cody Drammer joins from Leeds for an initial 3.3 million. He's another pacey right back. We needed cover in that right back slot just in case Pembele gets injured. So welcome, Cody Drammer. So this is Rodrigo Muniz. He's joined from Fulham for £675,000. So Muniz will be a good option for us up front. He seems pretty good. He does also, though, seem quite clumsy as he stubs his toe almost immediately after joining the club. So we've done our signings. We've sorted out our system. We've told all the clubs sniffing around Joe Bellingham to sod off. Time for the first game of the season against Millwall. It's a pretty good start to the season. Rodrigo Muniz gets his first goal for the club, setting us on our way to the 3 points. Left back Dennis Jerkin nets us a second just before half time, and then Joe Bellingham, celebrating his new contract, scores our third goal, which ensures the 3 points come to the north-east. Sunderland's in the north-east, isn't it? Yes, it is. I'm sure it is. The one annoying thing about that match, though, is that Patrick Roberts picked up a bit of an injury that's going to keep him out for a couple of weeks. I didn't highlight him earlier in the video, but he is one of our better players. Not having him on the wing this early in the season is pretty annoying. Something I should be annoyed about, but am not really, is that Blackpool then knock us out of the Carabao Cup. Yeah, whatever, who cares? How about who cares? But we play much better against Watford, coming away with a 3-0 victory. There's 2 more big transfer moves before the end of August, 1 in and 1 out. The in is Jarrell Kwanzaa joining us on loan from Liverpool, and we're only paying £2,000 a week for him, which is fantastic. In wages, no loan fee or anything. He's instantly one of our best defenders. So as much as we've picked up a bargain, so have Atalanta, who have triggered the release clause for Pierre-Emerick. Now, I didn't really know that Pierre-Emerick had a release clause of £16 million, but he did, and they've triggered it, and he's gone, which is annoying because he was also pretty damn good. The rest of August looks like this. We lose 2-1 to Derby, beat Cardiff 3-1, and then Blackburn 2-0 before finishing the month with a 0-0 draw against Hull. 4 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw is a pretty good return for our first month, and we end it in 5th. September starts with a 3-0 win against Preston. Huge mistake from Preston gives the ball to Bellingham, who scores our first goal. Then an absolute belter of a free kick from Roberts puts us further ahead. Joe Bellingham scores a second, but it's ruled out, and then in the 92nd minute we do eventually get a third goal through Dan Neil, rounding off a very good victory. Goals from Adil Oichi and 2 from Adriano secure a 3-0 win against Ipswich, which sees us go top of the table. But it's an injury to Joe Bellingham that takes the headlines. Thankfully, it's not too bad. He's only out for a couple of weeks. It doesn't go quite so well against Sheffield Wednesday, and it's bloody terrible against Swansea. Patrick Roberts is proving to have a bit of an injury problem. He's out again, this time for about a month. I think a young player who's not made a Weetabix is probably on the shopping list in the summer window. January window. We've just had the summer window. We welcome Bellingham back for this game against Coventry, and it's not great. We're 2-0 down at half-time thanks to goals from Efren Mason-Clark and Diego Reyes, and we've not been playing very well at all. Daniel Ballard gives us hope just after half-time, but goals from Tasahiro Sakamoto and Bobby Thomas seal a 4-1 victory for Coventry, which is pretty terrible. If I'm honest, it's pretty bloody terrible. But we finally break our run of bad results against recently relegated Leeds United, where a quick-fire double just before half-time from Dan Neil and Bellingham are enough to secure us the 3 points. Now, as bad as Leeds looked, Norwich look every bit a Premier League team, and it's another poor result. But when your players do this, what can you expect? Really? I mean, what is Ballard doing there, honestly? What is he doing? Caleb Ekuban finally scores a goal in a 3-1 loss against West Brom. It's helpful when you have strikers who can actually find the net, and Ekuban doesn't seem to be very good at doing that at the moment. However, it's also helpful if you have a keeper who can stop the ball going into your pissing net. I am denied about replacing Patterson in the summer, and his recent performances have kind of made me wish I did. So at the end of a middling September and a frankly terrible October, we're currently sitting in 8th in the league. Patterson, by the way, has conceded 14 goals in 4 games. So I go and do what I should have done in August and buy myself a second keeper. Andreas Jungder will be joining us in January. Hopefully we're not in too much trouble by then. November kicks off with 2 more draws, this time against Luton and Plymouth, and it's at this point that I decide to rotate the squad a little bit, get some of those underperforming players out of the pitch. Out of the pitch? Out of the squad. This means we give a debut to young Chris Rigg, one of our academy products. He's a midfielder and he's got a bright future ahead of him, I think. It's time to see how this rotated squad does against Sheffield United. They miss an early penalty, but they do score the first goal of the game a couple of minutes later. Chris Rigg, on his debut, sets up Muniz for the equaliser, and the game finishes 1-1. It's another draw, but it's better. It's better. But we do desperately need a win, and that win comes a couple of days later against Birmingham. We once again go down early, but Muniz gets us back on level terms before Chris Rigg, fresh from his assist in the other game, gets his first senior goal for the club. Despite the win, it's a really even game, and there are 2 players that we do need to talk about. So Daniel Ballard is comfortably our best defender, but he's been averaging a 6.4 over the last 5 games, which just isn't good enough. And Abdullah Bar, like the Plymouth game aside, he has been really average. I think the annoying thing is that both of these players kicked up a fuss when I walked in the door, begging for new contracts, which I ended up giving them, and neither of them are playing well enough to have deserved those new contracts now. So once again, they're dropped for the next game against struggling Huddersfield. This is another game that we dominate, but we just can't score. We've had 26 shots, 10 on target, an XG of 2.53, nearly 60% of the ball. Personally speaking, I'm a bit concerned. We've not been playing that well, but the media seem to disagree and have labelled my start at the club as impressive. I guess 8th in the Championship isn't too bad, but there's too many draws. There's too many draws for my liking. We'll see if they still think I'm impressive after December, which is looking very tough. So this month we're playing the current top 3 one after the other, but we do also play Carlisle twice, who are bottom of the table, which means maybe 6 points from them. Maybe. So I'm braced for a pretty bruising month, but it actually turns out to be a lot better than expected. We beat Carlisle 5-0, then there's an excellent 3-1 win away to Bristol City, a 1-0 win against local rivals Middlesbrough, and then another big 4-0 win against Carlisle. That's 9 goals against Carlisle, thank you very much. There's a 4-0 win against Stoke, a 4-0 away to Sheffield Wednesday, and then a slightly less convincing 2-1 win against Swansea. But that means that at the end of a frankly incredible December, we picked up 21 points from the 21 available. We've scored 23 goals and conceded 2. So we're now up into 2nd place, and the playoffs and promotion chase is really tight. So, how the hell did I turn it round?
I'll show you.
This is the 4-3-3 that we had been using. The plan was to have Bellingham in the central midfielder attack position, getting up to support attacks and score goals. The wing-backs would also push up to support attacks. The winger would head for the touchline and put crosses in for Bellingham, the complete forward, and the inside forward to attack. And the box-to-box midfielder would help out defensively but also support attacks as well, which was fine. But if we lost the ball in their defensive third, we were vulnerable on the counter-attack. I also found that Bellingham playing in that centre midfield role wasn't having enough of an impact in games. The complete forward was often isolated. We weren't using a high line either, so we weren't really taking control of the pitch. It was just pretty passive overall. So I decided to change to a more aggressive system. This is the new and improved Ray of Light system. So in this system, we've got two fullbacks on attack providing width, an attacking midfielder on attack making runs into the box, an advanced forward leading the line, two inside forwards cutting in to join attacks, knowing that the fullbacks will move into the space that they've left behind. So essentially, in attack, we could have 6 players roving around the attacking third. But crucially, this time, we've got 2 defensive midfielders on support who are providing defensive cover and outballs. Those two, combined with the 2 ball-playing defenders, give us that cover against the counter. We're now also using a higher line and we're pressing a lot more, basically trying to compress the pitch and control the game via pressing and overloads. But I made all those changes and, what do you know, all of a sudden we're unbeatable. They're not content with overhauling the entire tactical system at the club, I've also decided to try and overhaul the staff at the club like I did at Brighton. Our data analysis team wasn't very good, so I sacked all of them and I hired a small army of Portuguese blokes. Oh, and Tim. This is Tim. Tim, you need to learn Portuguese. And then, just to finish off December in what is becoming a little bit of a tradition at the club, Patrick Roberts picks up another injury. He's a problem. That run of victories in December wins me the Manager of the Month award, and rightly bloody so. I bet Brighton are wishing they hadn't sacked me now, aren't they? I think they should have thanked me. I don't think I should be here at Sunderland. I think I should still be in the dugout in the Amex, but I'm not. It's fine. But just because I'm not at Brighton doesn't mean I can't bring Brighton to me. Simon Adingra becomes available for £2 million, and it's an incredible piece of business. We snap him up. It's just, I can't believe they let him go for £2 million. And now, with the transfer window open, Andreas Ljungdahl finally joins the club. Do you remember he was the goalkeeper that we signed back when Patterson was being terrible? The problem is that in that run of games in December, Patterson was actually really bloody good. And now I've got 2 very good goalkeepers, both of whom expect to be the first choice. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. We'll figure it. We'll figure it out as we go. Our first fixture in January is away to National League York City. Daniel Ballard, of course he does, gives away a penalty, and Ljungdahl makes his debut by picking the ball out of the net. It takes us until the second half to equalise when Muniz drives in from distance. Incredibly, York retake the lead almost straight away. It's a good goal, and a giant killing is currently on the cards, or not. Pembele equalises, and then we finally take the lead through Kochiebinski. But any hope of a nice cup run is pretty much destroyed when we get drawn against Man City in the 4th round. We'll call that one the Battle of the Bellinghams, because oh yes, they signed Jude Bellingham for £202 million. Pembele picks up a knock which keeps him out for a while, and that would have been fine, but Drama is also away on international duty, so we're a bit light at right back. It means that Niall Huggins is going to have to sort of slot in, and he wants to leave the club, so I don't know how much of his attention is going to be on the games, which is a bit concerning. Our first league game of the calendar year is against Leeds, and we're pissing awful again. Patterson doing his best to remind me why I signed another goalkeeper. But it's a first loss in 13 games, which isn't that bad, really. Luke O'Neill scores an absolute worldie in the game against Coventry. Muniz makes it 2, and then Niall Huggins makes it 3 with his first goal of the season. Muniz gets our 4th and completes his hat-trick with a 5th. It finally ends 5-1 with Manny Modeste, do you remember him? Brighton youth player? Getting Coventry's only goal. We end up losing 5-4 away to Norwich in one of the crazier games of the season. It's a bit like a boxing match with both teams just landing punches relentlessly, nobody doing defence, especially not us because I set us to very attacking just to see what would happen after a while, which probably wasn't the best idea considering the next game is against City in the Cup. City have a few good chances, but we do get to half-time at 0-0. The boys are doing well. In the second half, Aoichi thinks he's got the breakthrough, but it ends up being ruled out for offside. But then, in the 72nd minute, he does get the sodding breakthrough. Aoichi puts us 1-0 up against Man City. The lead, unfortunately, doesn't last too long. McAtee equalises after a shot hits the woodwork. But I will take this all day long. 1-1 against Man City? Yeah, I'll take that. Good day at the office. And it's another good day at the office when we beat West Brom 2-0, which means we end January sitting in 4th. City take the lead early in the cup replay, and we don't really stand a chance all game. They're much, much better this time round, and it ends up 3-0 to Man City. We do not have a shot on target, and I don't really care. We're out of the cup, whatever. Concentrate on the league. February is a decent month. overall, kinda-ish. We lose to Blackburn and Luton, we take a 2-2 draw against Preston, but record high-scoring wins against Hull, Ipswich and Plymouth. We're in 4th place by the end of February, and we're still in the playoff conversation. The next game against Sheffield United is a game for the defences, and the defences only. It's terrible. Look at it. There's no goals, and all the defensive players on both sides have got 7+ ratings. Ugh. What a waste of a Saturday afternoon. Roberts, he gets the first goal of the game and he celebrates with a little jig. Muniz gets a goal on his return with a nice and simple tap-in at the back post, and Styles turns on the style with this effort for the third. Chris Rigg gets a worldie of his own as well. It's 4-0. Muniz, Ekuban and Kochubinski score the goals in our 3-0 win at home to Watford. Adriano marks his return from injury with our first goal against Millwall, who are playing this just awful pack-the-middle formation. I mean, look at it. We win the game, but good grief, it's dull. With 6 games left, all against top-half teams except Huddersfield, we're still in 4th place. Playoffs are looking tight, but there is still an outside chance of us sneaking into the top 2. We're only 6 points off Norwich in first, and their form has been on the slide in the last couple of games. A pair of Dan Neil penalties and a thunder bastard from Kochubinski gives us a 3-0 win. Every time I say Kochubinski, I get better at saying it. Magic. Norwich continue to slip up with a 2-2 draw against fellow playoffs hopeful Middlesbrough. Leeds and Stoke, though, both win. Derby are up next, and Abdullah Bar gives us a flying start to the match. Muniz makes it 2 with his 20th goal of the campaign. He really was a bargain. And Abdullah Bar bookends the game with a very late goal to make it another 3-0 win. And now it's Stoke's turn to slip up in the promotion race, with both Leeds and Norwich winning their games. Jurgen has picked up a knock, which is going to keep him out for a few games, which is admittedly a pain in the backside, not the injury. The injury is a gashed leg. It's a pain in the backside that we don't have one of our best players for this little run-in, but the injury is fine. Ish. There's an absolutely huge result before our game against Bristol City. Norwich beat Leeds 2-1. This means that with a win, we could overtake them. But so could Stoke. Did I mention it's tight? It's very tight. A fantastic goal from Huggins gives us the lead in our game against Bristol City, and with Stoke drawing away at Watford, we're in 2nd place at half-time. Abdullah Bar makes it 2 just after half-time, and Styles gets our 3rd with 15 minutes to go. Bristol City get one back before Adriano nets a 4th for us. The match ends 4-1, and we have secured our playoff spot. Not bad for a first season in charge. Not too shabby, but it could be more. Watford scored 2 late goals to defeat Stoke, which means that with 3 games to go, we're sitting in 2nd place. Our game against Middlesbrough is the late kickoff. So can Leeds both win their games, which means that we have to at least draw to be able to keep up the pace. Of course, Middlesbrough go and take the lead early, and then they get a 2nd, not long after. A very bizarre own goal in the second half gets us back in it, though. It looks a bit of a foul to me, but I'll take it. I'll take it all day long. It's 2-1. Very dodgy penalty, puts us 3-1 down, and then it's all of a sudden 4-1 down, and we're a f***ing shambles. The game finishes 4-2, but I am not pleased.
That is a disgrace.
But the outcome that I can see is that we're going to be one of the playoffs teams, rather than one of the ones going up automatically, which was in our hands. Was in our hands. Against Huddersfield, Adriano gives us the lead and Kochubinski makes it 2. Where was this Sunderland against Middlesbrough? Roberts then scores a great free kick and sets up a returning Bellingham for the 4th and final goal in a very good 4-0 victory. Leeds and Stoke both win their games as well, which means it comes down to the very final game of the season. So the best case scenario, the one that sees us go up automatically rather than potentially have to deal with the playoffs, is that we beat Stoke and Leeds beat or draw with Coventry. So that's the maths. So here we go. Bellingham gives us an early lead, and Coventry have also gone 1 up, which means we're in 2nd place as the table stands. Muniz punishes Stoke for pissing around at the back and puts us 2-0 up. So it's in our hands again. All we've got to do is stay calm and hope that Coventry do the business over in Yorkshire or wherever they're playing. I don't know where they might be playing in Birmingham, actually, to be fair. Is Coventry in Birmingham? That's not important right now. It's not important. So at half-time, we're 2-0 up, and then just after half-time, Coventry go 2-0 up as well, which means, holy crap, we might be about to get promoted. Now, these videos are created slightly differently to how I used to do the sort of Let's Play stuff. In these videos, play through the season, I capture a bunch of screenshots and video clips, and then cobble together a script and mash all that together in the edit so that you see this video that you're currently watching. But you don't really get to see sort of my live reaction to things as they're going on. So what I decided to do for these last 15 minutes of this game or so, because it looks like we're about to get promoted, is I use my phone camera to just sort of turn this into a sort of classic Fairly Determined FM video, just for a bit. Come on. Come on. Come on. 3 minutes to go. Come on. Yes. Come on. God. How How do you like me now? How do you like me now, you son of a bitch? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Didn't mean it. Didn't mean it. From being sacked at Brighton and Hove Albion to winning promotion with Sunderland 1 year later. How about that? How about that? Incredible. So the final table ends up looking like this. Well, the final table before the promotion playoffs. You'll find out who wins the playoffs in the next video when we're in the bloody Premier League. That Stoke game. The Stoke game was the one. And then Coventry. We owe Coventry a massive debt of ground. Maybe we'll buy one of their players for a lot of money. One of their players that we don't really need. We'll spend some of our Premier League millions on a player we don't need from Coventry. That'll be fair. That'll be fair. I hope no one from the FA watches this video because that could be some sort of dodgy trading thing, couldn't it? Promoted, which is great, but also kind of scary because we're in for a very tough season next year. I struggled with a team that had been in the Premier League for a good few years in the last video, and now I'm going up with a team that haven't been in the Premier League for quite a while, with players who are not really Premier League ready. It could be tough. It could be tough. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the moment. This is the first time because I have. Is it the first time I've been promoted from the Championship? It is the first time I've been promoted from the Championship. This is the first time because I haven't actually played a lot of Football Manager 2024 because of various things that happened. The 6-month break that I took, I wasn't playing the game. Blah 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 blah. This is the first time that I've been promoted from the Championship in any save in FM24. So this is. It's quite. It feels nice. It feels very. I don't know what that accent is. I apologise. It feels nice. I enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. I hope to see you in the next one. This isn't how I do my outros. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you back here for the first season in the Premier League with Sunderland. All the best. Cheers. Bye.